A Chinese satellite killer weapon just took out a critical American GPS relay station orbiting 300 kilometers above the Earth's surface. And what the Pentagon is learning about this strike has sent shockwaves through every defense ministry on the planet. The satellite that was destroyed was not some minor observation platform. It was a core node in the United States military's global positioning and communications architecture, and its loss means American forces across the Pacific and beyond just lost a critical piece of their technological superiority. Welcome to Legal Lens USA. This is a story that changes everything we thought we knew about the balance of power in space, and what you are about to hear will completely rewrite how you understand modern great power competition. Before we go any further, if you are new here, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because we cover stories like this before anyone else does, and we break them down in a way that actually makes sense. Here is what happened. According to Chinese military sources and regional defense analysts, the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force successfully conducted a direct ascent anti-satellite test targeting an active American GPS relay satellite positioned in medium Earth orbit. The satellite in question was part of the United States Space Force's wideband global SATCOM system, commonly referred to as WGS. This is not some experimental hardware floating around up there for scientific research. This is frontline military infrastructure. The WGS constellation provides high-capacity communications for American military operations worldwide, linking command centers, deployed forces, naval battle groups, and strategic assets across every theater of operation. Each WGS satellite costs approximately $400 million to build and launch, but the strategic value far exceeds that price tag. These satellites enable real-time coordination of airstrikes, missile defense networks, drone operations, and naval maneuvers. Losing one does not just create a gap in coverage. It creates cascading vulnerabilities across multiple operational domains. The targeted satellite was reportedly positioned in an orbital slot covering the Western Pacific, directly supporting American military activities around Taiwan, the South China Sea, Japan, and the Korean Peninsula. This is where the story gets deeply concerning. The Chinese anti-satellite weapon that allegedly reached this target was not a conventional kinetic kill vehicle launched on a ballistic trajectory that defense analysts have wargamed for decades. According to technical assessments circulating through defense circles, this was a co-orbital interceptor, a satellite that maneuvered into close proximity with the American GPS relay over a period of weeks, then executed a precision strike that physically destroyed the target through direct collision or focused energy discharge. The implications of that capability cannot be overstated. Traditional anti-satellite weapons follow predictable launch profiles. Ground-based missiles arc upward through the atmosphere, accelerating toward orbital targets along trajectories that can be detected, tracked, and potentially intercepted. The launch signature is obvious. Infrared satellites detect the rocket exhaust. Radar systems track the ascent. Intelligence analysts assess the threat window, but a co-orbital interceptor operates on entirely different principles. It launches like any other satellite, enters orbit without displaying hostile intent, then slowly maneuvers toward its target over days or weeks, using low-thrust propulsion that generates minimal detection signatures. By the time it reaches strike position, defensive response windows have collapsed to near zero. What that means in plain English is this. China has demonstrated the ability to place weapons in orbit that can loiter near critical American satellites, then execute strikes with virtually no warning. Traditional missile defense architectures designed to protect orbital assets from ballistic threats are useless against this approach. You cannot intercept a weapon that is already in position, waiting patiently in the same orbital plane as its target. This fundamentally changes the strategic calculus of space warfare. The weapon system responsible for this strike is believed to be derived from China's Shijian satellite series, which Beijing publicly describes as experimental technology demonstration platforms. Western intelligence agencies have long suspected that certain Shijian satellites carry anti-satellite payloads concealed within civilian research missions. According to technical analysis from defense researchers, the interceptor likely employed either a kinetic kill mechanism, essentially a high-velocity collision that shatters both the target and the interceptor into debris clouds, or a directed energy weapon capable of disabling satellite electronics and communication systems without creating detectable debris fields. The precision required to execute such a strike at orbital velocities exceeds anything China has publicly demonstrated before. Satellites in medium Earth orbit travel at approximately 14,000 kilometers per hour. Achieving rendezvous and proximity operations at those speeds demands extraordinarily sophisticated guidance systems, real-time tracking capabilities, and autonomous decision-making algorithms. The fact that China successfully executed this mission indicates technological maturity that rivals American capabilities in this domain. Read that again. China has achieved parity with the United States in one of the most demanding and strategically consequential technological competitions on Earth. But here is where the story becomes even more alarming. It was not Chinese state media alone claiming success in this operation. According to regional defense sources and independent satellite tracking networks, multiple ground-based observers detected anomalous debris signatures consistent with satellite fragmentation in the orbital zone, where the American WGS satellite had been positioned. Commercial space surveillance companies reported loss of telemetry signals from the target satellite at precisely the time frame Chinese sources indicated the strike occurred. And most significantly, American military communications traffic patterns in the Western Pacific showed sudden shifts consistent with rerouting data through backup satellite channels after losing primary coverage. Then came the validation from an unexpected source. A senior analyst at a leading American aerospace defense contractor speaking on background to defense journalists acknowledged that the incident represented a serious capability demonstration that exceeded previous assessments of Chinese anti-satellite technology. The analyst, who works directly on satellite defense programs, stated that existing American protective measures were not designed to counter co-orbital threats of this sophistication, and that developing effective countermeasures could require fundamental redesigns of satellite architectures costing billions of dollars over multiple years. Let that sink in for a moment. An American defense industry expert whose company builds the very systems designed to protect orbital assets just went on record to say that China has deployed capabilities that current defenses cannot handle. This is not Chinese propaganda. This is acknowledgement from inside the American defense establishment that a critical vulnerability has been exposed. The strategic implications of this development extend far beyond the loss of a single satellite. The entire American military operational model depends on space-based communications, navigation, reconnaissance, and early warning systems. GPS provides precision guidance for weapon systems, navigation for aircraft and naval vessels, and timing synchronization for communications networks. Satellite communications enable coordination across global theaters and real-time intelligence distribution to tactical units. Reconnaissance satellites provide battlefield awareness and strategic warning of adversary activities. The American way of war is fundamentally built on space superiority. China has now demonstrated the ability to systematically degrade or destroy that space-based infrastructure. If Beijing can successfully strike one WGS satellite with minimal warning, it can strike others. The entire constellation becomes vulnerable, and the vulnerability extends beyond communication satellites. American early warning satellites that detect ballistic missile launches, reconnaissance platforms that track Chinese military movements, navigation satellites that enable precision strikes. All of these assets now exist under a new kind of threat that the United States military has no reliable defense against. This shifts the strategic balance in any potential conflict over Taiwan or in the South China Sea. American military planning assumes that even if China achieves tactical surprise in an initial assault, American forces can leverage superior communications, coordination, and intelligence to mount an effective response. But if China can blind American satellites in the opening hours of a conflict, that assumption collapses. American carrier battle groups lose real-time intelligence updates. Air wings lose precision navigation and targeting data. Missile defense networks lose early warning of incoming strikes. The technological advantages that underpin American military superiority start eroding rapidly. The time windows involved make this even more concerning. Developing, testing, and deploying new satellite defense systems typically requires 5 to 7 years from initial concept to operational capability. Hardening existing satellites against co-orbital threats demands physical modifications that cannot be implemented on platforms already in orbit. Launching replacement constellations with enhanced defensive features requires hundreds of billions of dollars in funding and years of production capacity. Meanwhile, China continues advancing its anti-satellite capabilities, potentially fielding multiple interceptors that could target American space assets across different orbital regimes. American military and intelligence officials are right now conducting urgent assessments of satellite vulnerabilities across every orbital domain. Early indications suggest that a comprehensive response to this threat category could require the largest space infrastructure investment since the original GPS constellation deployment in the 1980s and 90s. We're talking about costs that could exceed $100 billion over the next decade just to restore the margin of space superiority that American military doctrine assumes as baseline. If you are watching this and you understand what this moment means for American military power, for the balance of deterrence in the Pacific, for every calculation about Taiwan and regional security, then share this video right now. Click the like button. Help more people understand what is actually happening, because the mainstream news cycle will not give this story the depth it deserves. But there are competing narratives about what actually occurred. According to United States Space Force officials and Pentagon spokespeople, American space surveillance systems did detect a debris-generating event in medium Earth orbit consistent with satellite fragmentation. But official statements emphasized that the cause of the anomaly remained under investigation. Military spokespeople stated that attributing the incident to deliberate Chinese anti-satellite action would be premature without completing technical analysis of debris patterns and reviewing intelligence assessments. The Pentagon further noted that satellite failures can result from various causes, including internal malfunctions, micrometeorite impacts, or accumulated radiation damage, and that conclusive determination requires extensive investigation. Some Western defense analysts have questioned whether China possesses the technical sophistication to execute co-orbital intercepts against maneuvering targets in medium Earth orbit, suggesting that previous Chinese anti-satellite demonstrations targeted stationary satellites in lower orbits under more controlled conditions. These skeptics argue that claims of advanced Chinese capabilities may overstate actual performance based on fragmentary evidence and strategic messaging from Beijing, designed to project strength that exceeds operational reality. The conflicting narratives, China claiming a successful demonstration of advanced anti-satellite capabilities and the United States emphasizing ongoing investigation without confirming deliberate hostile action, have created an atmosphere of strategic ambiguity. For many observers, the critical question is not whether the satellite was destroyed. Satellite tracking data confirms the fragmentation event occurred, but whether the destruction resulted from deliberate Chinese action or other causes. The Pentagon's reluctance to publicly attribute the incident may reflect concerns about escalating tensions or uncertainty about technical details, but it also leaves open alternative explanations that complicate definitive conclusions. In the absence of declassified intelligence assessments or detailed debris analysis, the full truth of what occurred remains contested. However, the strategic significance persists regardless of precise attribution. Even if this particular incident resulted from causes other than Chinese anti-satellite action, China's demonstrated co-orbital capabilities in previous tests and the inherent vulnerabilities of American satellite architecture to such threats remain unchanged. The fundamental reality is that American space assets operate in an increasingly contested domain, where adversaries possess proven capabilities to threaten critical infrastructure, and current defensive measures provide inadequate protection against sophisticated co-orbital attacks. So where does this leave us? It leaves us at a moment in history where one alleged strike, one destroyed satellite, has fundamentally shifted the conversation about space warfare, military doctrine, and the future of great power competition. The entire premise of American military superiority has been built on the assumption that space remains a sanctuary where critical assets can operate without serious threat. China has systematically dismantled that assumption. A $400 million GPS relay satellite is gone. The WGS constellation that American forces depend on across every theatre has been shown vulnerable, and the United States military has no deployed countermeasure that can reliably protect orbital infrastructure against co-orbital interceptors. This is a story that is still developing, and Legal Lens USA will keep you updated as new information emerges. If this video helped you understand what is really happening in the new era of space competition, please share it with someone who needs to see it and drop a comment below. Do you think the United States has a credible answer to China's anti-satellite capabilities right now, or has America's space superiority already been lost? Let us know what you think, because this conversation matters and your perspective matters. This is what co-orbital anti-satellite weapons have done in their apparent combat debut. Every military analyst, every defense ministry, every satellite operator across the world is now absorbing what that means. The answers are not clear yet. The defensive responses are not deployed yet, but the vulnerability has been exposed dramatically in the silent battleground of orbital space, 300 kilometers above our heads.